Welcome to another Illuminance episode, dedicated to the development and evolution of the genetic personality trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, the highly sensitive person, HSP, and high sensory intelligence. These sessions feature trained HSPs who specialize in coaching, facilitating, and supporting other high sensory people. To contact them, find out if you are an HSP or to become a high sensory coach yourself, please see the information in the description.
Welcome everyone. Today we're having a conversation with highly sensitive people. And these are highly sensitive people that offer coaching, consulting, and are using their gifts to help other people who are highly sensitive and those to understand highly sensitive people. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today is empowering transformation and being a highly sensitive person. My name is Dr. Sabrina Rock, and I'll be facilitating this discussion today. My background is in psychology and in education. And the coaching that I do is to educate people in helping professions about highly sensitive people, how they can be aware of sensory processing sensitivity, what it means, how to identify people who are sensitive, and then how to better support their needs, whether it's students or clients or children, families, all of the ways that we can make lives better for people who are highly sensitive and for those around them. So let's get started going around the room and just introducing ourselves. Robbie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Love to. Thank you so much. My name is Robbie Lee. I am an empowerment coach for HSPs, which means that I love to help highly sensitive people really tune in to their own knowing and create lives they love, even if those lives look like nothing like anybody else's, but that they're really living into their own truths and cultivating their own self-love and stepping into their gifts as a highly sensitive person and really celebrating those. Happy to be here today. Thank you.
So glad to have you with us. Fiona, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm Fiona Fletcher Tavernier, and my background is as a psychotherapist, and more recently finished a certification in integrative trauma coaching, and that is really my biggest interest and passion, is helping highly sensitive people not only help recover them from trauma, but to also start talking about trauma prevention is something that I'm really interested in with highly sensitive people.
Thank you very much. Donna.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Donna Chisholm, and I am a high sensory processing relational coach. I also incorporate mindfulness and self-compassion, as I'm a teacher of that within my practice. I'm a formal 30-year plus career in physical therapy, in which I specialized in neurological and geriatric rehab. And I'm a researcher on neuroscience, on trauma, particularly embodiment and somatic practices to help heal trauma, prevention of disease. And I'm also a yoga teacher as well.
All right, thanks. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Andrea, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Brito Miller. I am also a HSP coach, like the others, specializing in helping HSPs discover their value and worth. Also, I work in the energy realm. It's a special area of mine as well, helping folks regulate their own energy as well as connecting to nature, especially. It's my mission to get as many humans connecting with nature as possible to help regulate the energy on the planet. So that's my big mission.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you all here. And Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Evans, and I am also an HSP coach specializing in older women, like 45 and older, that are going through some kind of transition in life. So I do a lot of transformational coaching, whatever area they want to work in. I help them through that transition and hopefully get to know themselves even better than they know themselves right now. And I also help with changing careers if that's something that they're interested in also.
Thank you. We have such a wide variety of women here and women that do work in different areas around sensory processing sensitivity, being highly sensitive, whether it's trauma or energy work or career or changes in life. Something that we really all have in common as highly sensitive people and in the work that we do is this idea of the possible transformation that can occur and becoming aware of sensory processing sensitivity as a thing, being highly sensitive as a thing that not only humans are, but over 100 other species are also highly sensitive. A difference in our brains, the way that we process information. So coming to understand that there's nothing wrong with us and that actually there are a ton of benefits, some really, really beautiful things that come from being highly sensitive, like being sensitive to being in nature and how healing that is. The way that we care and we're compassionate and can have connections, those real deep empathic connections with people. So that's what I'd really love to hear about today, your experiences, either in your own life, in your own transformation, being sensitive, or with the clients and the people that you've worked with, and using your own gifts to be able to help them have that transformation. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just open it up to whoever feels called to share right now, and then we'll go around the room and I'll bring in some other questions as we get moving along.
I think it's important to, when you start with a new client, who just get a measure of what's their education background about high sensory processing, and if they are starting to embrace things, or if they're happy to find out they are, or they're relieved, hopefully, and just assisting them to discover which of the gifts that come along with being a high sensory processing person that they have, and yeah, just discovering those and seeing how they've probably been present through their whole life, and hopefully them realizing it's part of their truth, their authentic self, and putting value to that, and hoping they're finding that in their lives.
Yeah, I love this, what you're saying about educating people about the trait, that sometimes that can be the biggest relief for some people, to learn that this is very normal, because we're accustomed to comparing ourselves to other people who don't have the trait and thinking this is something that is not normal. So to find out that it's a normal experience for 15 to 20% of the population, I think can be a relief for a lot of people. I think one of the other things that can be very empowering for highly sensitive people is to give them permission to do things differently, because our nervous systems are more sensitive and our brains work differently with our bodies. One of the biggest senses of relief for a highly sensitive person can be, you're allowed to do things differently. You're allowed to create boundaries in your life. You're allowed to give yourself more time to do things, that once you set up strategies and have some tools that you can use that give your nervous system some relief, you can thrive and be happy and have a normal life. But it has to be your normal life, not the life that we imagine other people think we should have. So I love that, giving ourselves permission to do things differently.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that, I work with high sensory people as well as non-high sensory people. And I just feel like being a relational coach, for me, I think it's important whether I'm actually working with an HSP person or working with a family or a couple of one HSP or both HSPs. And just generally, one of the ways in which I can discern and, attune to whether they are HSPs or not is to allow myself to ask clarifying questions. Like, for example, I had a client yesterday, a young man, and saying, I have anxiety and depression. And I said, well, what does that look like for you? The importance of just hearing the way in which he views it, what his experience is of certain terms. So I have my own assumptions and ideas, but I learn so much more from my clients if I allow them to share with me their particular individual experience.
Yeah.
Also, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Christine, please.
Just piggybacking off of what's already been said. What I find when I talk to people, and some of them, whether they're aware of their HSP gifts that they have or not, is they all come in with feeling different than other people, right? But they're not sure why they feel different. Okay. So when they learn more about HSP and all the different facets of it, the pieces start to coming together in their head about events that happened in the past or when they were a child. And it's like, oh, that's why I reacted the way I did. And I think the best gift we can give somebody is to help them to learn to accept themselves. Okay. Because once they do, a whole new world opens up to them. And their sense of belonging changes. They feel like they belong more. But I know I felt before I knew I was HSP, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere because I just felt that different. And then you go through this stage, well, I don't know if I want to be HSP, but then it's like, oh, I don't have a choice. That's how I'm born. So you got to go through those stages of acceptance and stages of learning, like Fiona said, different strategies to help yourself, that eventually you become to this point where you feel like you belong again. And you get that sense of community back again. And we just want to help people get to that happy place.
Absolutely. One of the things that is true for my own journey, and I see it with my clients over and over again, is the sense what you were talking about, Christina, feeling different. And in the beginning, different is very much associated with being as a negative thing, right? And I don't fit in. There's something wrong with me. I'm an outsider, those types of things. And a lot of my work with them is about embracing those differences and finding the strengths in those differences. Because as highly sensitive people, we are different than non-highly sensitive people. Our brains are wired differently. But with that comes a different way that we view the world, comes our ability to connect in a really deep way, comes our empathic abilities. And there's so many good things that come with that. But if we're starting from the place of, I need to be like everyone else, or else there's something wrong with me, then all of those things can be very painful because the way we experience the world is different. And so I love the journey with my clients of helping them to see the strength in their sensitivity and what they actually bring to the table, like how they actually, who they are in the world and how that helps the people around them. Then the light bulbs start going off. And then it's that self-love and self-acceptance that I've heard, like loving ourselves for who they are, who we are, so that we can then really share that from a place of strength instead of trying to hide it and just trying to fit in, right? And that, which can just feel so painful.
Yeah, the idea that coming to understand that you're sensitive, that there's nothing wrong with you, can become such a powerful piece of your identity.
Yeah.
To shift from what is wrong with me? Why don't I experience things the way other people do? Why do I get so overwhelmed? Why do I want to say no when people ask me to do things? Why do I want to leave early sometimes, even though I'm, kind of having a good time, but I'm just tired now. Why do I get tired? And having that knowledge and understanding about what it means to be sensitive is empowering, in that I at least, and I've seen with my clients, feel suddenly validated that, like, no, I'm done. I'm going to go now. It's what's best for me. Or like, I'm not up to it today. I'm not going to do it. Or really making conscious choices about relationships and about how you spend your time and what you do, and increasing the things that are restorative, being out in nature, doing art, writing in a journal, taking a nap, taking a bath, a salt bath, all these wonderful things that before I understood myself to be sensitive, I felt like, and like I needed permission to do those things, or an excuse to do those things. And now it's like, oh no, this is what keeps me healthy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying hearing each of your perspectives on this. And I'd like to ask a little bit more about how knowing that you're sensitive really increases people's ability to set boundaries, to increase their self-care, and to really own who they are, and find a new sense, a stronger sense of self.
Yeah, I was just going to say that one of the things you touched on was, knowing what your limits are for your nervous system, right? Like, I can't be at a party for so many hours the way the rest of my friends might be able to. And I have actually found this information helps people create better connections with their friends and family, because once you know this about yourself and you can communicate to your friends and family, I'm good for about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, but not very much, then they don't take it personally when you say, I really can't. Like, I've gotten really good at being able to tell my family, I already did one thing this weekend, so I'm done for the weekend, right? Like, I can't do another event. So let's check in next weekend. And that way they don't take it personally that there's something going on, that, you're having a problem with them. They just know, I can only take so much, and then I'm done. And I think they appreciate the honesty. In fact, I have a friend who, this is a sort of funny story. I have a friend who invited me to go on vacation, with my husband and she and her husband, to Europe. And it was like a cruise, and it was going to be like, 8 couples on a cruise and bike riding. And I thought, it sounds really fun, but I was like, I'm going to be on that boat with 8 other couples for like 10 days. And I was very honest with her, and I said, thank you so much for inviting me, but I don't think I'll be able to manage that. I've really found that when I'm on vacation, I need a lot of time and space. And she was like, thank you for telling me that. She really appreciated it, because then she didn't feel like I was hedging and saying, no, don't think I had that right. Like, I was totally honest with her, and she thought that was great. Kind of improved our friendship a little bit, I think.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, Fiona. And I have found really similar things, that the ability to name it and say what it is actually helps to increase the relationship, because otherwise people make up stories about why we say no to something, or, don't stay as long. In this way, it's not at all about them, because it isn't, right? And I have found the most profound shift in my relationship with my spouse, because it gives me a language to tell her when I'm just needing some quiet or needing some downtime. I'm needing to regulate my nervous system. And she loves that, because then it's not at all personal for her, right? If I'm just like, I really want to hear what you're saying, and I need to go regulate for a little while. She's like, yeah, got it. No problem. And it's also, I have found, helped her to feel empowered to say what she needs and what she's wanting, which just it's lovely for both of us, right? When we both feel like we have the space just to say what we need. So it's been really great for us.
Yeah, that, I mean, hearing that, Robbie, that sounds, there's so much clarity,
Yeah.
right? If you're mentoring, meeting your needs and what you need, and then, she's able to do the same thing, and there's not all this assuming and questioning, right?
Yeah.
But I did want to speak to being a HSP, and there are lots of times that people don't understand. I call them temple conditions myself, of me wanting to take my own car, or, just asking certain questions about what's involved in an event. And I mean, I have a lot of people in my life that are not HSPs, and I really have to discern. So I'm speaking to the audience of those of us that they don't have these willing people, families or spouses that understand, is to, discern how much to explain to them. But there's little things to do, like, for one, take your own car, right? I know for me, it's helpful if it's inside time, I have a place to go outside. Little things that I need, but I just want to validate those of us that are honoring our temple conditions of being an HSP in the world that is not. And there are many that don't understand it. And sometimes those friendships may not last because there's such a difference, and it has nothing to do with anybody doing anything wrong. It's just a lifestyle. So there is, there's risk and there's loss in trying to be with people that aren't able to support our HSP temple conditions, and that's okay. It's just empowering ourselves and not compromising in that way.
I think too, we all end up in situations where we are in overwhelm or over arousal, and giving our clients and ourselves learning tools to regulate our nervous system and bring ourselves back to calm and peacefulness, hopefully, and an ability to absorb more information. I know Robbie just alluded to, sometimes you just can't take any more in and you need some time. So things like breath work, grounding, hot bath, being out in nature, those have all proven, I'm going to say they've saved my life, literally, from constant over arousal. And once you learn to recognize the signs when you're at maximum capacity, then you can see what's going to work in your situation. And the more you practice, the more easy it becomes. I find myself grounding through the day, doing breath work throughout the day, taking breaks, just learning that closing, as high sensory people, we are taking in way more information through our senses than high sensory people. And just learning that 80% of our sensory data comes in through our eyes, and taking time to close your eyes for 30 seconds just to slow down the data input, the incoming information, can make a huge difference in how you feel. So if you're in a situation like Donna was referring to, and the person's not understanding you, you can just close your eyes and take a moment for yourself, maybe, or just do some breath work. I think I'll do some now.
Yeah, that's where that expression, you ever get in a car with somebody, especially when I'm driving, and I can't remember the directions per se sometimes, or I need to think of something, I have to turn down the radio. And they're like, can you turn down the radio so I can think? And they're like, what? It's like, but again, it's shutting down one of your senses that you're able to, because I'm driving, can't shut my eyesight off. But I've done the shutting my eyes thing. That does help center yourself. get back on track, and then you're more easily to go forward. But sometimes it's your hearing too. And sometimes it's shutting down the number of things coming in at the same time. Even if that's just for a couple of minutes, it helps you regroup, and then you can move forward. And it really does help.
Yeah, I'm hearing so much about self-regulation and really awareness of yourself, your limitations, being able to communicate about that. And another area that we haven't quite touched on yet in talking about our sensory overload is the amount of emotional energy that we are taking in from people all of the time. I have often had the experience of, walking into a room and you can feel the mood of the room. You could even walk in and not see anybody's faces, just walk into a room where everybody's facing another direction, and being able to have a clear sense of what is going on emotionally in that room. And that can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're somebody who has a profession, like a teacher who is with students all day long, or in a profession where you're, in business and you're around people having meetings all the time. There are a lot of ways where we're around a lot of people. And even on Zoom, I'm still reading your emotions when we're on Zoom. So I would love to hear more about how you manage that for yourselves, the things that you share with your clients about giving them tools for managing that emotional information that's coming in. And for me, the biggest, most transformational piece has been realizing when I'm feeling something, when it's not mine, and just being able to say, oh, that's not mine. I'm walking through a grocery store. Suddenly I'm angry and I have no idea why. I look and there's, go around a corner and there's somebody who's like frustrated with something, or the checker is frustrated. That's not mine. And just that recognition is in itself clearing. And then I often will send energy to whoever is having the issue that I'm feeling. That's healing, grounding, nurturing, and remember to center myself. So that's just one example and one tool that I use. I'd love to hear about some of the ways that you all manage that and help others to manage it.
Yeah, I can add something to that. For myself, I experienced just what you said, Sabrina, about wherever I go, can I see what's going on with others. And what I have learned to do for myself is, for one, I validate my experience. Instead of just trying to turn it off and make it go away, I allow it, I validate. I said, oh yeah, this is here. I'm feeling this. And then I say the word choice, discernment. And I get to choose or discern what I want to do with that energy. I think the power of choice, discerning, and also, the validation piece. And before the validation piece can happen, I believe we spoke of awareness, my own awareness that is happening. It just helps me feel not the word control, but kind of in charge of it. Yes, this is here. I have a choice, discernment. And I love, Sabrina, that you said that you'll send energy back. That's what I do a lot. I'll do that sometimes driving in my car when I'm thinking of someone in my life that's struggling, or an experience that I heard about. I will just send energy to them, just out in the energetic field. It costs me no percentage of my own energy. It actually cleans me and makes me feel more clear for the next. And I believe in that. I believe in the power of my own energy and healing, and if it's focused on something, even when it's not tangible.
Oh yeah, I resonate with what both of you have said so much. And for most of my life, I didn't realize I was feeling other people's feelings. Like, I knew that I knew what was going on. What I didn't know, Sabrina, is what you were talking about with, like, suddenly you're angry. It's like, oh, that's not mine, right? That I didn't learn that for a long time, and that was really helpful for me. And knowing that, and Donna, what you're talking about, like with choice, it's really helpful to be able to say, oh, that's not mine. And it's like, I don't have to pick it up. It's like,
Mhm.
because before that point, I just felt like I would absorb everybody's emotions. And clients come to me in that same state and they're just exhausted and overwhelmed, of course, because you're picking up everybody's everything and not knowing that, number one, and then not knowing what to do with it. And so understanding that it's not how other people are feeling is not really, it's not my responsibility and it's not mine. And I also do what you both said, which is I send them energy back. And it's often like loving energy. Like I'll just send them love
Mhm.
because that's what I can do for them, you know? Um, I also envision like a pink bubble around myself if I'm going to go into a really crowded place or something like that, which is just kind of my love bubble. And that helps me not just get so barraged with everybody's everything. For a lot of my life, my experience was people wanted to be around me and they wanted to talk with me. And then they'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And I would think, I feel terrible. And that happened so many times. And my clients now, say similar things to me. And now I have a better understanding. It's like, oh, well, I've absorbed their energy for them. Like I was kind of the rod for that. And then I didn't know what to do with it. So now if I find myself in that place, then I will ground that energy. I'll send that into the ground, or it depends, or I'll send it up into the universe, up into love. It's just these visualizations but it's like I don't have to hold it in myself. I can send that back out into love. So those are some of the things that I've done.
Yeah, I love all those tools, Robbie. Those are all wonderful. It was making me think about when the pandemic started 3 years ago. And I will never forget the first time I went to Whole Foods when we could finally, go to the grocery store, and saw that whole line of people waiting to get in the grocery store with their masks on. And I just did this like, it was that feeling like I could feel everybody's like stress and fear, and it was overwhelming to me. I'll never forget that feeling. And I had to breathe so much just before going and standing in line. And one of the things that I've learned how to do that's helped me a lot is pay attention to where in my body I'm feeling the stress. So like if it's in my, if it's in my chest, I'm feeling the stress. And then also be able to pay attention to where in my body I might still be feeling calm. So I might still be feeling calm, I don't know, my feet, my stomach, somewhere. And then if you put your hand in the other place as a resource and you connect the two places with each hand, you can actually calm the place in your body where you're feeling the stress by touching the resource at the place that still feels calm. So that has helped me a lot.
I love that, Fiona. It's awesome.
Yeah. We have probably about another 5 minutes to wrap up our discussion. So I want to make sure that if anyone has anything else that they want to share, that we can do that, and then we'll go ahead and bring it to a close.
I kind of wanted to bring up a little bit different taking on of energy. I worked as a PT like Donna did, and I realized when I came home, I was working with somebody with an ankle pain, or back pain, or shoulder pain. Guess who would have ankle pain? Mystery. Shoulder
Yes,
pain. It's not only
that's right.
emotional pain, it can be physical pain as well. And a lot of HSPs work in healthcare professions and around people who are suffering. And boy, clearing that energy out is so super important to avoid burnout. Even with that, it's hard to avoid burnout for those of us who are highly sensitive. But I just wanted to add that piece in about the physical. And you can feel, sometimes I'm just with somebody with physical pain and all of a sudden my ankle will hurt, and then I'll watch them walk away and they're limping and I'm like, oh, got me again, so it's fascinating. I have found for a tool I learned somewhere online is thinking about surrounding myself with golden light and then having mirrors all around me, reflecting their energy back to them. And I find that works even out when I'm exercising or walking or skiing or anything, that if I'm tired, I build that sort of bubble with the reflective energy, and I don't drain energy out of myself as much. And yeah, it's been a nice tool to have in the back pocket, ready to go when I need it. So, what a bunch of great ideas from everyone.
I have a really quick comment. I have a saying that I use for myself is I remind myself to observe, but don't absorb.
Mm.
I love that.
So even if observing means saying it out loud, what is it? And then that reminds me to not absorb it. It's not mine. And like you said, I always try to send healing energy back to them and say, I'm very sure that they'll take care of this on their own.
Yeah. I think having the awareness that what we feel is not always ours, the ability to name it, to choose what to do with it, that gives us really superpowers as coaches, counselors, teachers, because we connect in such a deep way with what somebody else is feeling, especially when we are tuning in to how can we be of service to this person? How can we meet their needs? How can we give them some tools or some understanding, some compassion, that we connect so deeply. But again, if I know for myself, if I'm not grounded, then I'm not in my gift. And it can be, really difficult to be with people who are experiencing, a variety of emotions. So I've learned so much from each of you today, and I really look forward to having more of these conversations. You can reach any of us in the directory in the Illuminance community if you would like to follow up with us or ask us questions. And we look forward to seeing you next time.